All right, good morning. Is anyone else sad like me today? Right. I'm sad because of my Tom Brady news, right? Retired again. We'll see me. My kids were like, he's gonna come back. I'm like, no, he cried in his thing. He's not coming back this time. And they're like, oh, my wife is like, I'll believe it when the football season starts and he's not on a team. And I'm like, I know, but I got that borrowed year last year. So it's not as like last year I cried. Like it made me so sad when he retired last year. But then he came back. I'm like, I don't think it's gonna happen. So I wore my Tom Brady socks today to commemorate him, right? That was my sad wake up this morning. I was like, oh, couldn't have waited like a few more weeks of like maybe. Sad day. Moving forward, but I'm still sad about it. Hopefully everyone's hanging in there, doing okay. It was cold this morning and not as cold as yesterday. It's been so chilly. We will keep going with gender today. We're going to talk a little bit about the other side of the things that influence gender before we get to go have another nice weekend. And so last time we talked a lot, if I back up for just like a second here, we talked a lot about like the biological stuff that affects gender, right? Like biology, chromosomes, genetics, hormones, all these different hormones, right, that we mentioned. And then when people can maybe be like intersexed, where they're not quite developing in that typical fashion. What we're going to focus on today is the other side of the coin, which plays a huge role in gender development. And that's the social learning elements. And gender is very socially constructed, but it's different from place to place and time to time. So that's what we'll focus on today. It's greatly influenced by our society and our culture and by stereotypes. So many stereotypes related to gender. And we kind of touched on this a little bit last time, but types are something that we all do, right? It's a very natural and helpful. Their beliefs about groups of people or massive generalizations or blanket statements about a particular group. So we can do stereotypes of being male or masculine, stereotypes of being female or being feminine. And I love this, right? The pictures are like capturing some of these, right? The female ranger says love, talk, security, babies, respect, and shopping, right? Stereotypical female things. And his sex, food, sex, TV, beer, football, sex, right? So there are all sorts of stereotypes about what it means to be male or female, masculine or feminine. And oftentimes where these get us into trouble is when people start treating others based on stereotypes or discriminating against people who don't meet the stereotype. Right? Like if you expect someone who's male to be strong and like independent and like football and beer and all these things, and they don't, and you shame them for it, right? That's where we start to get into issues with some of these stereotypical kind of stuff. But we learn a lot of our messages about gender from these stereotypes. And by the age of about 3 or so, a lot of these are already in play. Right? Children have a very clear idea of what it means to be a boy or a girl by the age of about 3, maybe even before, right? And they get this from all sorts of different places. They get this from their parents. They get this from school, from the media. The media is a huge one, right? They get these kind of preconceived notions. And I can tell you, like I was sharing last time, as the parent of 3 children, right? These are things that are very, very much present. And they're present from the moment a child is born. What is the first thing we want to know when a baby is born? Yeah, what sex or gender? Is it a boy or is it a girl, right? Is it a boy or a girl? That's like the first question. And then the gifts roll in depending on like the color, right? Or depending on the sex of the baby. The second that everyone found out we were having girls, it was like the pink showed up, right? And we were so against it. We returned so much pink stuff, right? Because we didn't want like nothing but pink. And so much of like a baby's gender is really, or like gender expression is determined by their sex. The second that somebody finds out that a baby is a girl versus a boy, it changes the language that they use, the approach that they have to that baby, the stereotypes and like thoughts that they have. My daughter, when she was my oldest, Kaya, when she was born, completely bald, had no hair till she was like 3. Now she has like long, curly, like beautiful hair, but completely bald, right? She came out with dark black hair and blue eyes. And now she has brown hair and like blonde or brown eyes and blonde hair. But that was you. You were bald too. None. Yeah. Long curly hair.
White hair when it came
Yeah.
And then probably 5 or 6, I had enough hair to like actually like do a hairstyle, like braided or knitted ponytail.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it took her to like, I want to say maybe 4 or 5 to have long hair. Like she had no hair. And so the way that people told what sex she was by her clothes. Right. And so like I don't know, as a psychologist, I think I just enjoyed this way too much. Like it would the reactions to her based on her clothes were fascinating to me. Like I would put her in pink and be like, what a cute little girl you have. Oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. She's so delicate. She's so sweet. I put her in brown or blue. But what a handsome little guy you got there, hey, little buddy, right? Like, I'm like, same baby, right? And all it was the color of her clothing. That was the only cue that people had, or the color of the blanket she was wrapped in. People make so many assumptions based on simply like color or sex and things like that alone. Yeah.
That reminds me when I was a baby, like an infant, my mom had me in a blue outfit with these flowers. And some older lady was like, oh, he's so handsome. And I guess my great grandmother was really mad about it.
Sure.
She was like, she's a girl. Because I'm wearing flowers.
Right.
Even though it's
clearly
colored immediately.
Yeah. When people get angry, I mean, people can get really mad to the point where like anytime I see a baby, I never assume anymore. I'm like, oh, what a cute little one you have. Little one. Right. I have no idea if that is like a boy, girl, or other. And I'm not going to assume. What a cute little one. And then like, even then people be like, she's a girl. I'm like, okay, great. Congratulations. Right. Like, I mean, because people get angry, right? Like flowers equal like girl, right? And like blue equals boy. You've confused me. Yeah. Oh, you had there was another hand over here. Yeah.
Decide on his name. So he went home from the hospital with no name.
No name.
And so he ended up being he was Logan, a boy.
Okay.
They couldn't decide for 3 weeks.
Mhm.
It was their second boy, but they just couldn't pick a name.
Sure. But without a name.
It's like, well, here's our list of names.
Yeah. Yeah. No hurry, right? Take your time. That's a big choice. A kid's name, right? It's a big choice. Yeah. Right.
Like I did church and they're having 4 kids, but they have 2 boys and then a girl, so they're gonna wait to find out.
Sure.
I could not.
Yeah. And most people don't like. Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the first things that we often want to know, right? Because then it's going to change. Like, what am I going to paint the nursery then? And what clothes am I going to get? And what blankets and what toys and what this and what that? It tends to all kind of be connected. Yeah.
And they switched the color of clothes that they were.
Yeah.
Had experiments with like people that didn't know it, and like had them like play with them for a little bit. And
Yeah.
showed that like those in like that looked like boys or whatever, they gave them like trucks and more like physical action toys, and then those that were girls, they gave them like you know softer toys or whatever, and they showed how that like actually really has an effect like down the line. Like
Yeah, it's wild. There's been so many things like that. And I have a little like montage of clips and I can't remember if I kept that in there or not, but I've seen that experiment and it's like little girl and they put that girl in blue and like dress and say that it's a boy. And then like the parents are like, here's a truck, here's this. And the kids are like, no, you know, but they like insist because it's a boy, right? Yeah.
my hair thing when I was a baby, I felt really curly
Mm-hmm.
and now it's straight.
Yeah. It changes, right? It's wild. You can be born very different. Yeah, my daughter's birth certificate says black hair, blue eyes. We would never like I switched her or something. She came out. We're like, okay, all right.
Really, like curly and really blonde.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, blonde, but now it's like brown.
Yeah, I won't show you pictures, but I had like very blonde, very curly hair as a kid too, right? Not that you need to see those, right? They've been maliciously destroyed. Yeah. Is that a hit? Yeah.
Yeah. I nannied for 2 like 3-year-old twin boys.
Mm-hmm.
They have an older sister too. And it's really funny because one of them will like play with anything, like girl or boy toys.
Yeah.
Like the mom too, like she's kept like clothes of like the older girl that like is like unisex, I guess, and like I've given it to them and stuff. And then the other one is like only will like wear like the boy clothes or like
like
Mhm.
won't wear a specific pull up if it has like a Disney princess on it. Like
Yeah.
they have like the whole like breakdown.
Yeah,
And it's just crazy. It's like you're literally 3. Like
right.
hi.
But it's a real thing. It
Yeah.
really is. Like one more story and then but my oldest again, Kaya, like and it was so much easier when it was just one because the second time around we had twins and sleeping and I would teach the wrong classes some days. It was exciting. You know, like when you're sleep deprived like that, it's like this close to torture. But with my oldest, when she turned 1, she was obsessed with Mickey Mouse, not Minnie Mouse, but Mickey Mouse, right? Which I was grateful because Minnie Mouse is annoying to me, at least to me. But she loved Mickey. So for her first birthday party, she wanted a Mickey Mouse birthday. Everything we sent out was Mickey Mouse, Mickey Clubhouse, like boy colors, boy everything. Like if we're going stereotypical, it was Mickey, right? The decorations, the invitations, everything. Want to guess what she got for her birthday from every single person who gave her a gift? Stinking Minnie Mouse, right? Minnie Mouse, everything. And then all of a sudden she was like, oh, I love you. She called him Min Mouse. Min Mouse is my favorite. And I'm like, oh, come on. I'm so mad at all of our friends. Like, thanks for that. But like every gift that they gave her was Minnie Mouse because that's what girls should like, Minnie Mouse. And I'm like, she likes Mickey. I returned half of it, like just to be spiteful. I'm like, no, we're not keeping all this Minnie Mouse stuff. And then she became obsessed with Minnie. And it's just so interesting, despite being like, she's into this, everybody went the other route because that's what's expected for girls, right? And lots of like, I've spent a lot of time like growing up with like my kids and like their friends and all these things. And just, you hear these gender role injunctions all the time, right? Of like, my daughter's best friend for years was named Brady, right? Cool little kid, right? Because of his name, of course. But he was super into Ariel, like Little Mermaid Ariel. It was his favorite person in like the world. He wanted to be Ariel for Halloween. He wanted to sing Ariel. And his dad, really cool guy, was like, no, son, you're not going to be Ariel. You can be Eric. He's like, I don't want to be Eric. I want to be Ariel. And his mom was like, I'll get you the wig. It's okay. Like, you can be Ariel. And his dad was like, no, you're a boy. You're going to be Eric. You know, and like, and then behind his back, like he would sing Ariel and like be like so happy when he did, but it's that kind of stuff that we see so often. And I think it's gotten a lot better, right? Generationally, it's so much better than it used to be. We're so much more liberal. I mean, just the fact like women couldn't wear pants 50 years ago. Like you couldn't wear jeans, like a lot of like looking around pants, right? Because it's cold, right? But pants, right? We are allowed to wear pants now, right? But there's so much in our culture that is gendered. And it's one of the first things that we want to know right off the bat. And then we treat children accordingly. And the media builds on it. Teachers build on it. I was so proud of my children. They had an assignment yesterday, Monday, 2 days ago. I don't know what day is it, right? 2 days ago. They had an assignment they were sent home with in the 3rd grade. And it was these little kids. And they had to circle whether it was a boy or a girl. And I was so proud of my daughter, Emma. She circled, she wrote in the middle, neither. She spelled it completely wrong, but she wrote it. I was like, what is it? Nether and what? And she's like, it says neither. Here, let's add a couple of letters. She circled it and she's like, well, it could be either. And I was like, I'm so hungry right now. I'm like the baddest parent. Like she circled it and wrote it, but the teacher sent it home and said that she needed to fix it because she was wrong. Oh, did we go off on this teacher, right? My partner and I are both teachers. We're like, let's go, lady. Like this teacher drives me nuts. But like, I think as a generation, like children are getting a little bit more open-minded, but this is still something that is very present. Like, especially if you look at like Disney as an entity, right? Like the gendered stereotypes within Disney or with any kind of media, magazines. Next time you see a magazine, just to open it. Imagine if you weren't from here, right? And you were coming to like Earth for the first time. Like that sounds weird, but you came to Earth for the first time, opened a magazine. If you look at the pictures of women or men, it's very clear what women should look like, or what men should look like, or what they should do or not do, right? We have a lot of stereotypes in our culture related to this. And this shapes us very, very strongly when it comes to our gender norms and what we expect and what's typical and normal. And I obviously break gender norms like quite a bit. And I love doing this in my house. And I'll share this with you. In my house, I go by dad. Right? Because I just fit that role better. And my partner goes by mom. And I love the reactions. Like we had softball last night and my daughter looked at me, Paisley, my daughter looked at me and she's like, Dad, what do we do? And the coach was like, Who the hell is she talking to? Right, like, and I like without skipping a beat, I'm like, oh, that's me. And I like, and I just start talking to her. But the look on his face was just like, I don't know what's
Like mortified.
He was so mortified, right? And I love it. Like I go by dad, but I'm fine with any pronoun. Like I consider myself very non-binary. So I'm fine with like he, she, like any of them. None of them offend me. I'm very like flexible. And so it's just so funny when I meet new people and they're like, wait, you're dad? And the look on their face, like every time, it makes me happy, like somewhere deep inside, I'm like, I am pushing your boundaries and I love it.
I'm offended by it, it like doesn't even affect them. That's
Right.
so funny.
Yeah, I'm like, this has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
But like this poor guy was like, okay, your mom, like, and then like he just could not handle it. His brain like it blew up. I don't know. Right, it just completely threw him, and then like he just didn't talk to me the whole rest of the practice. Like, like I'll see him again tomorrow, and I'm just gonna go up and be like, "Hi, I'm Dad." Right, like, yeah. That
my
one?
sister also does softball, so
Oh,
maybe they would do competitions.
oh, nice. My twins are 8, and then my oldest is 10. She played for Simi Valley softball. Or... Oh, okay, nice. We'll see, right? They will definitely beat my children. 2 of my children are so softball inclined. I didn't say that. They're amazing children, but softball's not their sport. Paisley's like, I love softball, but I don't like to catch, and I don't like to throw, and hitting's not my favorite. I'm like, you just listen to everything, right? I'm like, what do you like to do? And she runs like this. Yeah, I think swimming through. It's not soccer. It's not. My poor child. She wants to be an engineer. So I'll take that. And then my daughter Emma's like, I like soccer because I get to kick people. And we're not wrong. My 10-year-old doesn't do that. Like sports, just period. But it's just interesting the things that come up with this, and they're constant. Can tell you how many times I heard this at softball last night. Softball's such a great spot for all these things. There was a spider in the stands, and I hate spiders. Like I'm terrified of spiders. They're not my favorite. But there was a spider, and I heard this mom scream, "You kill it, you're the man." And he's all like, "I'm terrified of spiders, you kill it." And I was like, good for you, right? There's so many of those little injunctions, expectations based on gender, right? Expectations based on sex, right? And we learn them in a lot of different ways. And I put together like a montage of videos that I found, and it has a whole bunch of things in it. It has some like things from Disney films, because Disney is the most common purveyor of like kids media. Not to pick on Disney, I love Disney, especially Disneyland and churros, but Disney in general. But it has a bunch of little things, and I believe it actually has that experiment in there. I'm trying to remember now, but it's about 20 minutes. There's a lot of content. So if you have something that stands out to you that you want to like comment on, maybe jot it down so you don't forget, because there's a lot in there to unpack. But I think it's a really great collection of like gender injunctions in the media, in commercials, and then also related to the holidays a little bit as well. So I'll play this for you. Let me pause this. Okay, so obviously there's a lot in there, right? There's a lot of things that we could talk about in there. Anyone have a spot you want to start with? Like any like thoughts or comments to start? Yeah.
It was like a Halloween store one.
Mhm.
Looks like it's first or second. But it sounds like they were almost gonna go against like the actors. And then like the last second, like they switched it and they changed them. I was like, oh yeah, that's wrong. I don't know. I kind of picked up on the fact that they were like side yeah, interesting.
Okay. All right.
I think you're a little too.
Yeah.
It's like
Okay, so let's start there. Let's start with the Halloween like part, right? Since that came up first. I mean, so I can tell you again, as a parent of 3 kids, we go to the spirit store every year. Like my kids love the spirit store. We drive by where it always used to be, like off of like Tapo Canyon.
Yeah.
And they're like, when's it? Like so, but it's January right now. I'm like, not for a while. But we go to the spirit store every year, and I see these interactions, right? And I have 3 girls, and like we're always like, whatever you want to be. It doesn't matter. Like whatever you would like to be is fine. And the costumes keep getting more and more interesting. Like my oldest was an evil clown this year. Like, so much for the sweet things. We're evil now, right? Dark and evil with like a big hammer. I'm like, Balance, whatever. But this is a thing, right? The costumes are very gender, right? There's like the boy costumes and the girl costumes and the adult costumes, and then there's some kind of in the middle. Did you have a thought?
Parents in public will think that it's okay to comment on other people's children.
Yeah.
It's probably most of the time not.
Yeah.
Especially with things like this, like the kids just trying on costume,
Yeah.
snooping on them,
Mhm.
and then they have like nothing to say something, it's just weird.
Yeah, I think it's weird too, right? And I'm always like, that's the thing, like, but yeah, it is, it's like that, I'm gonna butt in and like share my thoughts, right? It's an interesting phenomenon, yeah, we'll go here in a minute, yeah.
Girls' costumes in like Halloween stars are like usually like really sexual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hypersexual. I usually like make my own costumes because they're also really expensive. And
They are. Right.
Like the women's section is like super sexual, and I see like young teenage girls going in there, they're like, I'm gonna be a devil for Halloween, and they buy like a corset and like a choker and stuff. Personally, I'm not feel comfortable playing my young daughter. She's like that anyway.
Yeah, they're very hypersexual women's costumes, and my oldest, who's 10, she's like 10 going on 18. I mean, she's very big for her age, right? And so she doesn't fit into the kids' costumes. And so we ran into a lot of issues this year. Everything she picked was so hypersexualized, and she didn't even like necessarily want that as much as she was going with the options that were in front of her. So like these clown ones that she's picking, like, I'm like, that's barely any clothing. I'm not comfortable with you wearing that, not because it's violent, but because like, it's not enough clothing for you at 10, right? You're 10. And so we ran into that problem a lot this year because of her size. She didn't fit into the kids' ones. And a lot of the women's costumes are very hypersexual. Did you have, oh, right here.
Oh, yeah, it's very fun. People phrase like them wanting to get a costume of a different gender, like you gotta snuff it up before it gets bigger.
Right. So we're gonna stop it now, right? And again, that instant assumption, right, is that little boy wants to dress as Belle, he's gonna be gay, right? And there's that fear and everything that goes with it. We love to link gender and orientation with that. It's the fear, we gotta stop it now before it becomes a problem. Yeah.
It's like, no, it's supposed to be said, oh, I don't want to turn out gay or then like trans or anything like that. But it's like, the way that they word it, it's like, oh, we have to stop this now, as if it's a thing that's.
That can stop undesirable.
Right.
And they're like really taboo about it too.
Yeah.
Like something.
So it's like almost a bad thing.
For sure.
One day after year, they.
They're gonna work.
Yeah,
But
right.
it feels like you're more just pleasurable with your. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
I feel like it's longer rather than being.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people still go at it from that, like, I don't want you to be bullied approach, right? And is that the true intention?
Yeah.
Right? Halloween is an interesting one. It's like a free for all, right?
Yeah.
I had a group of 9 guys come in full drag in this class in the fall, and I was like, this is so fun. Would you do this on a different day? And they're like, oh, hell no, right? But today it's safe, right? Halloween's interesting. But I was like, I loved it. They went for it. I think it was great.
Like, oh, you can't dress like that, and all that stuff. The mother that
Right.
were saying, she's like, that's a lot of words for I'm homophobic.
Yeah, saying it without saying it, right? Yeah.
No. Like when they're like, we have to stop it before like it gets too far.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like they're acting like he's like a serial killer, like when they like start with like
Sure.
small animals first, like we
Right.
can stop it before it evolves.
This is your gateway activity.
Yeah, but it's not what it is.
Yeah. Right. And where's the harm in like one day, like Halloween, the fun
like a-
part about, yeah. Right. And yet that is a very common, especially with toys, which are, usually played with more than the one day. There seems to be even more fear. One of the options you can do for one of your homework assignments is to go shopping for twins, one's a boy, one's a girl. You don't have to actually buy anything, but you ask people who work at the store for recommendations. This isn't something that's outdated. Like, go to Target, go to Walmart, go to any toy store, the aisles are gendered, right? There's like the neutral Lego aisle in the middle, right? But even Legos are gendered, right? Like there's the girl Lego and the boy Lego, and obviously not everybody conforms to that, but toys, so gendered, right? And so if you think this is something that is gone, choose that option, right? It's not everybody's this way. Like there are definitely times where people are like, oh, they recommended like a book or a gift card or something neutral. But that's not the norm. I think you were next, and then we'll work our way back. Yeah.
One of the things about like gender that really bothers me as far as like the like gender roles and also like sexualization. 'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like as a girl, the older you get, the more unavoidable it is that whatever you're gonna be on Halloween, it's gonna be sexualized and
Sure.
it's just expected
Mhm.
that you're going to be wearing like showing skin and wearing something scandalous.
Yeah.
And it really, really bothers me that I've noticed, especially since my sister, she's 11, she's at that transitionary age.
Yeah.
Parents nowadays of young girls don't seem to care about that.
Mhm.
Rather they encourage it.
Yeah.
Like I was there on Halloween volunteering for her Halloween party,
Mhm.
and she's in 5th grade, and there's already like little Mean Girls Regina George group for me.
Mhm. Mhm. It starts early.
It does.
It starts early. Yeah.
That they were wearing like t-shirts and like these small little tweetings.
Yeah.
Butts out.
Mhm.
Like they come out and my mom's there too. So instantly I'm like, and she's looking at me too. And she's like, shh.
The M&Ms are a whole nother phenomenon. Oh, yeah. I mean, the sexualization and genders of the M&Ms. I'm like, it's just a food, people. Like, I don't think about that when I'm eating bags of them at a time. But you know.
Sending your kids out like that.
Yeah.
How do you feel like,
Mhm.
I don't know, how do you not realize that you're setting them up to be like preyed on,
Yeah.
basically?
Yeah, we had to do a lot of like modification to costumes. Like and I know you were saying like you make your own, right? We were like we bought costumes because my youngest was a fox. Like she wanted to be like she likes foxes. Like not she didn't want to be a sexy fox. She wanted to be a fox, right? Like literally she wanted the tail, the ears, and like every outfit we could find for her was either like this huge frumpy like boy fox outfit or like this hypersexualized girl fox. And she's like, what's wrong with that fox? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know where to begin. So like we bought costumes and like we had to like modify them a little bit. And my middle wanted to be a witch because that's her thing right now. And like all the witch costumes were so like, forgive me, slutty. Like they were like over the top, like, you know, and so we had to modify those, you know, and so there's a lot of, you know, little things you can do, but it's wild. I mean, and the Mean Girl stuff starts so young, like kindergarten.
It's
It's-
another like gender role.
yeah, it's shocking. There was somebody back here. Yeah, we'll go here and back in.
I was gonna say that I think that the boy that wanted to be Belle,
Yeah,
he's like more likely to not yell out by like other
Yeah.
influences than
Mhm.
the girl. I feel like people empower women to be more like standing up for themselves
Yeah.
and like strong. But when it's a guy trying to be feminine and like it's in with that energy, they're
Mhm.
like looked down upon. But they're
Yeah.
more like afraid of that.
yeah, traditionally and
Yeah.
stereotypically, we're more okay with women breaking gender than we are men.
Yeah.
But that's not always the case either. It depends on how severe, but yeah, I'm more likely that we would be flexible with that than the other, traditionally anyway. You had your hand up way back there, yeah.
Gonna say it makes it like a Lego thing.
Yeah.
It just- my boyfriend and I, we like do the Lego cars.
Yeah.
And he kind of just got me into them, so I was like building them with him, and he bought me one. And I asked for one from his family, right? Because like that was like the easiest thing. And they got him the cars, but I got a flower.
Oh.
So-
come on. Or they have the ping cars too. Like, yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's interesting. Like, and that's kind of like my daughter with the Mickey Mouse. It's like, I'm into this and okay, well, I'll get you the girl version. Of it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just that instant stereotypical assumption that, well, you're female, so you want the flower, right? And there's nothing wrong with liking the flower. There's nothing wrong with a little girl liking the flowers, a little boy liking the cars, right? It's just the assumption and the stereotype and the pushing. And then the following like assumptions that come from it or the bullying that comes from it and so on. Is that a hand way back there? Yeah.
Yeah.
But it reminds me of like dress codes in school.
Yeah. Oh, don't get
They-
me. Yeah.
Yeah, like how big dress codes are, like in high school, like I remember I would see like other people wear.
Yeah.
And it was crazy how they would pick out certain ones to dress code, but if you call them out on it, you would never like address it.
Yeah.
To like certain other people, and
weird, because then they'll bring up these pieces. Oh, we don't want people to get distracted, this,
Yeah.
that, and anything, like, I was talking about tries. And so it's funny, because they bring it, like, into schools, and then they expect it to like not be talked about,
Right.
not be argued.
Yeah, it is weird, and we live in California, in Southern California, where it gets quite warm, like most of the year, it's warm, right, like. You know, right. Yeah, but a lot of the year, it's warm, and like girls in elementary and middle and high school. You're not allowed to wear any kind of like spaghetti strap, anything, it has to be at least an inch thick, right, because. And if you read the reasoning behind it, they don't want to distract the little boys.
Yeah.
By like revealing too much skin. And like my partner's like freedom fighter, like she teaches high school English at Royal. And Royal High in CB. And like she won't ever call her students out on that, like she'll let them wear whatever, but you could be sent home for that. Like my daughter this morning, Emma, she put on black lipstick this morning. Like in my little age, right? She's dark already, like she top all over. Black. Like I don't want to
Stop.
This guy put on black lipstick this morning, and he's gonna say, I'm sorry, you can't wear that to school. Like she's not allowed to wear that. Like it's in the dress code. We're not allowed to wear the like skinny, like strapped dresses because it could be distracting. Right, and is that really like on them to have, and distracting to what the second and third grade boys, like, I don't know.
It's not the teacher.
The teachers maybe, yeah, I mean, and so, yeah, even in the schools, we see these things spilling away. And it's supposed to be kind of established. Yeah, that's a great point, yeah,
So I went to Royal.
yeah.
And sophomore year, they like automatically just like change the dress code.
Yeah.
Like my freshman year, it was like totally like relaxed to whatever you were wearing.
Mhm.
And it's all of a sudden, you can't wear, like for girls, you couldn't wear like a tube top, which is just like strapless.
Yeah.
Top. And you couldn't wear. I think it was like something about your shorts. They were trying to bring back the shorts, because it was like.
Yeah, you should
bigger
like.
fingertip.
Mhm.
And so one day, someone started on social media and just spread around and like, just boycott the dress code.
Yeah.
All of us just wear whatever we
Do
want.
it.
So not the Saturday morning.
Right, yeah,
So, yeah, so they did, and they changed, so we didn't get changed to the dress code.
Mhm. That's awesome, right? And like we have that kind of power to like fight these things, right? But it is wild, it's so pervasive, right? Dress code, costumes, toys, media, like it's everywhere. Yes, it's more progressive, but it's everywhere. Yeah.
About dress code and like different body types, and I see how like other people like with different body types would get dress coded versus like seeing someone
Yeah.
else would not get called out on it.
Mhm.
On my first day of high school, my freshman year, I was wearing a tube top and I was bigger chested. I ended up getting a breast surgery, but at the time I was bigger chested, and the vice principal called me out and asked if I had a jacket, and I said no. And then there was another girl literally walking by wearing the same exact shirt.
Exact same thing.
And I pointed her out and I was like, she's wearing the same exact shirt as me. She's like, yeah, but she's less developed, so it's not as distracting. Said those exact
Wow.
words. And I
Wow.
said, are you serious? And she was like, I'm just gonna give you a warning this time, but don't wear that shirt again.
Oh, there's so many
No,
problems.
you
with
got,
that, right?
you got played. That's what it is.
Wow.
And that was like my first day of high school.
I'm so sorry, that's awful,
And I was
right?
like,
And the psychological ramifications of saying something like that
I
to
know.
anyone, that's shameful. But it's true. It's not universally like enforced. It might depend on a lot of different factors, and it's shocking at times, right? And that's not like, we're not talking 30 years ago, right? We're talking like now, right? These are things that are now, right? And it's a little while, like some of the clips in here are older, like some of those Disney movies, those are old Disney movies, right? And they've gotten better. Like some of the Disney movies have gotten better. Like easy example, right? The movie Aladdin, right? The new Aladdin versus the old Aladdin. Like the old Aladdin, Jasmine is like super hypersexualized, put in her place. Women don't do X. New Aladdin, right? Jasmine is powerful. She's her whole speechless song, right? That she like belts. My kids love that song. Very, very different perspective. Like there's a lot of progress, and then there's not at the same time, right? Yeah.
I kind of wanted to add on to like the toy
Yeah.
idea and stuff. I like vividly remember I was in like early elementary school, and I
went to like Build-A-Bear with like my mom and my sister, and I remember getting like a camouflage bear.
Sure.
And my mom was like the type of parent where like, I don't really care, like you could do whatever, basically, like total freedom in that. And I remember it was like a camouflage like bear, and it had like girl clothes, like all pink stuff. And I remember going to like a family function like right after that, and my uncle was like, why do you have that like toy? Like that's literally for boys. And like it literally stuck with me like probably 15 years ago. Like that's stuck with me like still to today. I'm like, I didn't see a problem with it, and I didn't like really say much because I was like, I don't know, like 6 or 7.
Right. What are you gonna say at
Yeah,
that point,
but,
right?
like, that's even like still stuck with me, and like I don't know, it just like bothered me so much. Like even now talking about it, I like literally get angry about it. And, like it really doesn't affect me.
Those things stick with us. We sometimes call these gender light bulb moments, right? Where you have like a light bulb go off of like, hey, like was an expectation of me based on my gender, or I felt uncomfortable because of my gender and what was expected. Or, I mean, there's a whole bunch of ways it can present, but they tend to stay with us, right? Like in my head as a child, like I was always called a tomboy. That was like the phrase when I was a kid was like, oh, you're a tomboy. Like, and I was like, okay, I don't really know what that means. My name's not Tom. I remember being like, who's Tom? Like, I don't know Tom, right? But those things, they stay with you for years, right? And they can affect you, or they can affect your self-esteem. And again, there's nothing wrong with following gender prescriptions. It's those things that stick with us a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
And then like right before he was gonna go to school, he like panicked and was like, take it off, like it's only for girls. And then like also he's got like really long hair and he really likes it.
Mhm.
And then one of the parents like complimented it and was like, oh, I really like your hair. And he was like, I'm not a girl. Like that was his immediate response.
Instant response. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's like, I love the nails. They're so exciting, but I don't want anyone else to tease me for it. So I'm going to take it off. And again, I feel like as a whole, it's gotten better, but not good enough, right? Like it could go farther. I'll go here and then we'll kind of. Mhm. Okay.
Like in 2016, makeup was the thing.
Mhm.
And then 2018, skincare. And now it's hair care. It's like it's never enough. And there's these impossible standards.
Sure.
You're showing each gender. A man needs to be strong and muscular. And he needs to look like this in the gym all day.
Yeah.
And the woman, her standards are you gotta have perfect hair,
Mhm.
perfect skin, these expensive makeup, and now it's not at a Halloween store or a Target, it's on social media.
Yeah.
Because my advertisements are, they're selling me lingerie, they're selling me skincare,
Mhm.
they're selling me all this stuff that I don't need.
Yeah.
And my guy friend, I like, they see what
What are your
new gym equipment,
Mhm.
all these other things. Yeah, like protein powder.
Yeah. Right, things to bulk up, right? Right. Yeah. It's all being catered, right?
They're so hypersensitive, like.
Yeah.
They're so hypersensual.
Right.
They want to open it. Women are almost wearing nothing,
Mhm.
while men are like bulking.
Yeah.
It's happening, you know, you have to go.
Yeah. And you're totally right that catered advertisements. I was laughing as you said that because I think I don't know, I must have liked like enough things. Like I get ice cream advertisements and like cake advertisements and like pizza. I get food. That's all I get. Like I'm on the right path. I've done well on my catered advertisements, but it is often very, very gendered, right? Social media is such a big purveyor of this as well. Those expectations and the bullying that comes from it and so on. Yeah.
I find it interesting about like the gym comment, because like I feel like recently social media has been like pumping out a lot more gym content and like posts. I see all my friends going to the gym and like I feel like this year it's like becoming way more prevalent to the point it's like you have to go to the gym or else you're not good enough.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is a big expectation, especially for like men to get bigger and stronger, more muscular, women to lose weight and be tinier, right? Like those stereotypes are very much there, and a lot of preoccupation with that health and working out. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
when Disney was creating the character Flynn Rider from Tangled,
Yeah,
they gathered people within and surveyed them on what their ideal man looks like.
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
and then they use that data to make Flynn Rider.
wow. Eugene fits her right there. Right? Yeah, I mean, it's wild. Those things are based off of like metrics, right? And oh, the smolder, right? So I think some of those too, yeah.
I feel like the social media thing, one of my best friends, she got her phone like 2 years ago.
Okay.
She's never gotten a new phone, it's like literally like last month. And so she hasn't been on like Twitter, like anything. So she literally has like just friends from like 2019. And she, oh no, sometimes she just like she's in 2014. But she's like so happy. Like people like compliment her and like she'll be like, she's like so like grateful for the compliments. But she doesn't see like TikTok, like she literally has never had a TikTok account. And so like she.
Poor thing, how is she so happy?
Yeah, she's functioning. That style, she's like so happy. She's still like, and like she's not like, she's like on the bigger side, but she's like, she be wearing like the tiniest thing. I'm like, okay, girl, but it's all she doesn't have social media.
Sure.
There's, like no like, she's not insecure like that. Yeah. I want to say
He's never had
And we told our daughter who's 10 has a phone, like she got stolen for Christmas, right? So really nice of me, she's 10 and like, and she's got her phone. And we won't let her have social media accounts because we don't want her exposed to that quite yet. Like she's constantly like, can I have oh no. No.
Like make the cringiest TikToks, like don't be like them like lip syncing to like just like whistle, like that song, like TikTok, and it looks you, but and then
I feel like it could also have a positive effect.
Okay.
Because I say this because my little brother was very exposed to everything new,
Sure.
right? He was like, that's just the household we were raised in. Like I was exposed, you're just exposed. There's like 6 kids, we're all older people youngest. And so he's exposed to everything. But as he's grown up, it's like growing up better than like we are. Because like I've seen him like, yes, he already knows. He says he's gay and he's like, he's 12. And he's like, hey girls, like, and he comes in his dress and like, he like, will see stuff like on TikTok.
Yeah.
Certain things like getting beat, like certain people getting beat up for this or this.
Sure.
And he's like, hey, that's wrong. And he knows. And he'll be like, you shouldn't do that. But like, that's the thing that he'll know. Like he raises up, and he was raised to grow.
Yeah.
That this is wrong.
Right, and there are obviously wonderful benefits to like social media and technology, right? So my partner's obsessed with TikTok, like hours a day of TikTok. And like I'll just sit and watch it with her because I just want to hang out with her. So like I'm like, all right, fine, TikTok again, right? And I don't mind, whatever. And it's funny. It's
Anything done, they're on their phone.
I know it's like 11:30, 12, it's like midnight. I'm like, please just turn off the TikTok and go to bed. I like it in the background. But that was like there is a normalizing element to it. Like so like being like in a same-sex relationship, we don't have a lot of same-sex friends. We don't have a lot of people that we know that are identify as like lesbian or have parents, are parents of little children. And then you have all these people on TikTok. There's like all the like lesbian TikTok and gay TikTok, and there's like some of the normalizing. I mean, forget the thirst trap stuff. I'm like jealous of like 6 or 7 people on there that my partner's like, oh, she's attractive. I'm like, I'm deleting her. I hate at least 6 people on TikTok for that reason. But there is like kind of some cool elements to it, right? Like there are some nice positive influences, but I won't say it's the norm, but there are like positive things of social media as well, but there are dangers, right? There are positives to these portrayals in the Disney movies, and there are dangers, right? There's both sides. So I think you never need to be like shaming with gender, right? The idea is that we should try and accept, all presentations, but there's so much of that, like you have to be X because you're female, or you have to be X because you're male, right? And there's so many varieties of gender, like so much so that it's ridiculous the number of terms, right? Like every time I go to teach this class, before I teach this, I go look up like what are the common terms for gender variety, and they are like endless, right? Everyone has their own term for what they go by. But our culture really wants everything to be so binary, right? Like you're male or you're female, you're masculine or you're feminine, gender is a spectrum, right? You could be all over the spectrum and you can go back and forth on the spectrum. There's no saying that you have to be feminine all the time or masculine all the time or in the middle all the time. But that tends to make us uncomfortable. As people, we tend to want the like clear cut. I'll even be guilty of this. I'll meet someone and I can't tell if they're male or female. And I'll be like, why are you judging? Like, are you serious right now? I'm wondering and I'm like uncomfortable. Like, I was like, I have to know because then it proceeds like how I'm going to interact with this person. And then I have to challenge myself and be like, really, you're gonna do that to this person, like with the way that you are, you know, we all are guilty of this stuff, but gender is such a spectrum, right? And I have all these terms up here, you know, just to put up there. We have the idea of being cisgender versus non-binary versus gender queer versus, like, I mean, there's a million terms for different varieties of gender. But cisgender, just so you know these terms, is somebody who tends to have a gender that matches their sex. So someone who is female, who identifies as feminine, would be cisgender. They match, their gender and sex match, right? Versus someone who's maybe non-binary, right? Or doesn't meet the same criteria. We'll have different terms for that, right? So we can be agender, pangender, genderqueer. Androgyny is an old term that people don't tend to use very much anymore. But androgyny was one of the first terms to talk about blending masculine and feminine together that was popularized in like the 1970s. It comes from ander and gyna, literally meaning man, woman. And it was one of the first terms, and we have so many that have come from it. We have terms like transsexual, transgender, just trans in general. So much legislation around trans like identities this year. Don't even get me started on like the Florida, Texas laws related to like trans rights. There's so much, right? So much in the media. This has been something that has gained a lot of like attention this year. A transsexual is someone whose gender identity is opposite to their sex, against or opposite to. Traditionally, this is somebody who has considered something like a surgery or hormonal like treatment, versus transgender is somebody who maybe presents opposite to their identity, but like they aren't willing to go beyond that. So transgender versus transsexual are different from being a drag queen or a drag king, which is more for performance. There's all these different terms for varieties of gender. And this is something, again, that is a really big topic in our country right now related to like trans rights and what we are allowed to talk about or not talk about or teach or not teach across the country. Yeah.
Terms, a lot of people who have had like sex changes and stuff
Sure.
consider themselves transgender. And a lot of people don't like the word bisexual.
Right. Yeah. It's like almost a derogatory term for a lot of people. Yeah, it can be. Right. And I think the best way to approach these terms is to call somebody what they prefer to be called. You know, if somebody wants to be like referred to as he, then you call them he regardless, right? If they want to be she, if they want to be they, them, or one of the varieties, if they don't want to have any of those terms, right? Like ideally, that's what we do is we call people what they would like to be called. And that's such a wave right now of like on Zoom, right? You have to put your preferred pronouns. I just list them all and it throws people off so badly. Like I will list, I'll be like he, she, they, them, like I'll like list them all. There's like 50 of them on it. And people are always looking at me like, I don't know what to say. And I kind of like that, but it's such a thing, right? There are so many varieties of gender and that's okay. Right. We don't have to be so binary, right? Everything is on a spectrum. And I think we've gone and made a lot of progress in that way, but it's still something that I think we have a ways to go on. Yeah.
She's in high school and so she takes PE.
Mhm.
She noticed gender, not necessarily girls wanting to be boys, and then she noticed boys wanting to be girls. And she's not okay. And our whole family is not okay if the boy wants to become a girl is in her locker room.
Okay.
For that reasons, obviously, no matter if they are a girl or boy or they've had surgery or not, or they're just the way they're dressed, they should not be in the woman's locker room. Because no matter if they're dressed as a girl, it's just like we should not be in my sister's locker
Sure.
during PE because that's just not okay.
Yeah, the controversy around that.
Because
Yeah.
things can happen and vice versa. If a girl is identifying as a man and goes into the men's locker room, I don't think that's okay either.
Okay.
Just because of the like.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because our
and
culture,
nowadays,
gender
they
neutral
wear-
restrooms. Yeah.
They need for PE for them.
And so like our campus, for example, has some gender neutral restrooms, right? And more places are moving toward gender neutral restrooms, which is controversial. Some people hate it, some people love it. I kind of love it because restrooms and I are not like friends. Like, I can't tell you how many times I have been like kicked out of a bathroom because people have assumed I'm the wrong like sex. I was at Target off Madera like a year ago. This was last year. And I went into the bathroom and I had security pound on the door and like try and drag me out of there because this older woman like thought that I was male. And like, you know, and it's just my personality. Like, I wasn't mean about it. Like as I'm walking out, I like killed her with kindness. And I think she felt really guilty at the end, which I felt like I won on. But like the security guard came in like pounding, like, sir, you need to get out of here. And I opened the door and he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like the woman over there, like that. I think he wanted to be like that old crazy lady said, but he didn't say it. And like the woman just glaring at me like, and I was so mad. And I was like, you know, in my girliest voice, like, it's okay, you know. My chest out, like. You coming from you. But there's a lot of that, like the bathrooms, like, and gender neutral bathrooms and the expectations matter. They're a thing too, right? Yeah.
It's that that's what the people tend to make.
Yeah.
It's the thing of, oh, boys are wanting to be girls so that they can go into the women's restrooms and do things when that's literally that.
Yeah.
I never was yeah, so it's just.
Yeah, bathrooms are complicated for that way. We have like 2 more minutes, but yeah. What if you're gonna?
Yeah, okay, sorry. They want to use the bathroom that they became because that is their gender. You know, I feel like that's why they're comfortable. It's not because they want to go in because of the, it's just because that's how they feel who they are. So like, how would you feel if you feel like so belong where you are? You're like, oh, I feel very uncomfortable because this is not where I want to be.
Yeah,
You know, you're like, I want to be where I feel more comfortable because that's who I feel who I am.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one last thought before we run out of time. When I was in graduate school, I took a class called Choices and Changes in Sexuality, like a 1-unit class as part of my minor. And they challenged us to present as the opposite gender for a day, right? And it was an assignment. We had like, if you want to pass this class, you do this assignment. And it was probably the most uncomfortable thing I have ever done. I'm not bringing in pictures, but I wore a dress. And like, I let my roommates put makeup on me, they did my hair. Like, I went out like as feminine as I could be, right? And I was so ridiculously uncomfortable the whole day, but I've never been treated so nicely in my life. It's like people flirted with me, like, right? People held doors open for me, people were kind to me. I wasn't glared at anywhere. It was the most like illuminating assignment that I think I've ever done. And then I double dipped and used it as my photography like final. I took a picture of me with like feminine and the masculine sitting on the same couch staring at each other. It was so cool. That was a cool like thing to do. But I mean, our gender presentation, it's so much of our identity, right? Think about what your gender is, whatever it is, and how much it would take to change it, right? And the people that you're attracted to, gender is probably part of that. My partner is super feminine, and I like that about her. If she wanted to buzz her head and wear my clothes, like I'd find a way to get into that. But like, if I wanted, even 20 years, I would find a way, right? But that's not what I'm attracted to. Like, gender is a big part of our lives and our identity, right? Whatever it might be, So we're out of time, so I don't want to keep you over. But I have like 1 or 2 more thoughts with this. We'll wrap it up on Monday. And then we're going to move on to chapter 5, which is emailing. So I'll stop it there if you want to come up and share with me.
I was gonna say that sometimes the male restroom can be dangerous for
For sure. All right. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Thank you so much for all the wonderful thoughts and comments. Bye. Take care.